Hello, and welcome to Chucks and Chapstick. If it is your first time at Chucks and Chapstick, I say go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then tap on that notification bell so that you never miss another Chucks and Chapstick upload. However, I am back and I am here to talk to you about something that is near and dear to me, and that is my breast surgery, my breast reduction surgery. I'll let you know just right out the gate that this is a grown folks conversation. So if you ain't grown, or if you can't handle a grown folks conversation, then you might as well stop now and check out one of my other videos. It's going to be a long one. Strap in, get a cup of coffee. I will try to make my surgery as entertaining as possible. Forgive me, I have some notes here. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss a few key things that I want to talk about. So I'll stop chattering and get on into the stories. First thing I wanted to talk about is basically what led to my decision. So I went to sleep in the 6th grade flat-chested and woke up in the 7th grade with 36C boobs. I mean, they just really seemed like they came out of nowhere. Being in school in the 7th grade, being the only girl with big old boobs, I got teased by the boys. And then also, like, some of the girls were like, oh, I wish I had boobs. But little did they know, I wish I didn't have boobs. Because back then, the bra selection was awful. Like, if you had big boobs, your options were utilitarian, state prison issued bras, while my friends with their little teeny boobs used to buy like the pretty bras with flowers and lace. So while they were envious of my boobs, I was envious of their bras. So, and they used to make pretty bras, few and far between, but they were expensive, and my parents weren't about to pay $50 for a bra for a 12-year-old. That's not how it was about to work. So I had to make do with what was at Kmart and Walmart and Venture and those kind of places. Throughout my life, having big breasts was mostly just an inconvenience. It wasn't really something that I felt like affected me tremendously because I had always had to deal with it. I never dealt with like back pain or shoulder pain. What I did deal with though is that my breasts were so heavy and kind of low because they kind of grew heavy that my bottom side of my breast was always skin to skin. No matter how supportive my bra was, it was always skin to skin. So I would either have to like use powders or deodorants or even like a folded paper towel to try to keep it dry. But what would happen is that it would end up being like too dry, so it would irritate, chafe, and even make my skin raw, which was a problem. But if I didn't do that, then it would be sweaty and create like fungal infections. And so it would have like a little bit of an odor. And so, I mean, you couldn't just smell it standing next to me. But when I took my bra off, I could kind of smell it a little bit. So it was just a pain. It was a vicious cycle and it was a pain. But again, that was regular life to me. They got big while I was pregnant and they stayed big after I had my children. And so by the time I was 32, 33 years old, I was wearing a 40H. There's some big bosoms. But again, I just dealt with it. So fast forward to, I was at my cousin's house for a picnic, and his friend came by, and when she walked in the door, because she's like my size, and I've been knowing her for a long time, and so I know what she looked like. And as soon as she came in the door, I'm like, oh my God, her breasts look so much smaller. And I'm like, and they sitting up, and I'm thinking to myself, what kind of miracle bra is she wearing? Because I need that bra. So after staring at her for a while, I finally asked her, girl, what kind of bra do you got on? And she told me, girl, I'm not wearing a bra. She says, I had breast reduction surgery 6 months ago. And she tells me, I mean, she just tell me everything. I was so happy that she was so forthcoming about things. Because sometimes you ask people stuff and they like, I don't know, that's just the way I was born. You're like, MF, I know you wasn't born like that. Stop playing. But she just spilled the beans to me. And she told me about her doctor, her experience and everything. And so I decided that following week that I was going to call her doctor and see if I also could get a breast reduction surgery. I knew breast reductions were a thing, and I knew as long as it was medically necessary that my insurance would cover it. But what I was so concerned about is because I was heavy. plus size, heavy, obese, whatever you want to call it, curvy, big bone, thick, whatever it is you want to call it. Because I was heavy, I knew that the first thing they were going to do is say, you need to lose weight, and if your boobs are still big, once you lose 80 pounds, then come back, So that's the reason why I wasn't initially like exploring that option, because I was still heavy. I hadn't lost weight. I had lost some weight, but not the amount of weight that in my head I thought that they were going to require me to lose in order to get the surgery. So that's why it was kind of a aha moment when my cousin's friend comes in the door, because she's my size. She might be, a couple of inches taller than me, but she's also a little bit heavier than me. I would say maybe 10 or 15 pounds. And her insurance allowed for her to get this surgery. So clearly, it wasn't like, we need you to lose 80 pounds. She got it. So that was what prompted me to be like, okay, if they approved her, maybe they'll approve me too. So I make an appointment with the doctor, and I go in. And again, I did not have any shoulder or back pain, but I did have those fungal infections. And the result of those fungal infections was that I had like dark skin all up under my breast that was, in essence, like scar tissue, raw skin that just kept, having to grow over and grow over and grow over, because it was constantly being like chafed and damaged and irritated. So they took pictures of all of that, and they sent it into my insurance and said, based off of what's going on with her, this is in fact medical necessity. A major thing that worked in my favor is that there was documentation of the problems that I was having. Since I wasn't having like back and shoulder pain, but I was having fungal infections, I had gone to the doctor on several occasions for them to give me like creams, basically saying, you have a fungal infection, here's a cream to help clear it up. So there was medical documentation of the problems that I was having. And then, of course, the pictures supported it because of all of the dark area that was underneath my breast. So if this is something you're even remotely interested in, I cannot express in words how important it is to make sure that you are mentioning this to your doctor, because a lot of times we just deal with stuff at home and I don't want to go to the doctor, but then there's no documentation. So, I would just encourage you to make sure that you're going to the doctor and mentioning the things that you are going through, so that way there's actual documentation in your files about, your breast being a problem for you, or at least causing additional symptoms for you. One of the things that was also documented is that in relationship to losing weight, is there like, well, if your breasts are heavy, it might be uncomfortable for you to exercise. So really, it's in your benefit to get the breast reduction, because then you are more mobile in order to lose the weight, to be in better health, which is obviously what the insurance companies want, is healthy people, because then they don't have to pay for anything. That was more like something that, they were like, and this would be a thing too, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would be, even though that really hadn't even crossed my mind. But the truth is that, moving is so much easier. Bouncing up and down, walking, running, doing aerobics, doing Zumba, whatever the case may be, is a lot easier when you don't have 2 8-pound boulders on the front of you. I mean, that's just the truth. And the fact is that after I had my breast reduction surgery, over a course of a few years, I did come down about 35 pounds. So, because when you look at my pictures, you can tell that I'm much heavier. Not just my boobs, but altogether, I'm much heavier than I am now. So, that's also something to mention, that if you're plus size and you're looking for a reduction, that, I might be able to move better if I didn't have all of these big boobs in front of me, that's a thing. Found out about 2 weeks later that my insurance approved my surgery. I paid $150 to the doctor and $50 to the anesthesiologist, and that is the extent of what I paid to have my breast reduction surgery. I went back in before the surgery, and I talked to my doctor about the resulting breast size that I wanted, what to expect, so on and so forth. So to talk real quick about the incision. So based off of the size of my breast and what they were trying to make my size eventually go down to, they chose to basically do like an anchor formation. So the first thing they did was they removed my nipple, my entire nipple. They took it off. And then they did an incision from the nipple down to underneath my breast. And then they did an incision around here. So it basically looks like an anchor. And so they basically just kind of like tucked all of it in, you know, took as much tissue as possible, tucked it all in, and then reattached, re-sewed my nipple back to both sides. So it's all based off of, there's different ways that they can do your incision. It's all based off of what your starting breast size is, your ending breast size is, and basically how your breasts are formed, because some people's breasts lay wide and flat. Some people's breasts are long and saggy. Some people's breasts are just straight out. Like everybody's breast size and shape is a little different. So your incisions basically are mandated by how your breasts look in the beginning versus how they need them to look in the end. That concludes part one. Just talking about the history of it and basically the process for getting the consultation and the approval for my breast reduction surgery. In part two, I will talk about the actual surgery itself and, you know, the outcome of it.